Good evening. Well, it's evening where I am, Portland, Oregon, and whatever time it is, wherever you are in the world, welcome. I'm Terry McGill, mentioned Portland, Oregon, and this show is called Who's Your Neighbor? Every Tuesday night from around 7:30 to around 8:15 or so, our time, whatever time it is where you are. The reason for this show and the title, Who's Your Neighbor? Grew because of what happened to the world because of COVID. We, the world became aware, at least the aware people, that, wow, we're social creatures and we couldn't be social. I began to be aware that not only couldn't we, meet with each other, but we didn't know who our neighbors were. And not only our neighbors, but then I began to think about the people that I've known, some for 25 years, that are making a really big difference in the world. And they're not Oprah, they're not Deepak Chopra. And so, hardly anybody, even if you lived in the Portland metro area or wherever around the world, hardly anybody knows who they are. And they make tremendous differences in people's lives. And so every week I alternate, actually, or we alternate. I don't do this by myself. I have a wonderful engineer in the background who adjusts sound volume and more. And together we put together shows. They alternate. Tonight we're going to have a wonderful guest from Upper Georgia. I know, poor accent, huh? And every other week we have something called Tao Healing Hands practitioners, and we gather a couple of them. They tell a couple of stories, and then we have someone who has usually some significant either physical or emotional issues, and they offer a Tao Healing Hands practitioner blessing. And full disclosure, I like to be transparent. I am a Tao Healing Hands practitioner also. And so tonight, and hello to our friend from, I believe, Australia has just joined us. We have people dropping in from all around the world, and while there may only be 3 or 4 or 5 watching live, six now. I was amazed to find out in 10 days, the one time I looked, it was like, wow, 130 views. Tonight, so we cut right to the chase. We have a guest who is just one of those, you got to be kidding. She did what? So she started singing and acting as a child. She became a professional singer and stage performer in her late teens. Before she even graduated from college, she was teaching singing and doing performance coaching that I don't know what that is. So let's bring on Tara Abundance. Welcome.
Hello.
Tara.
Thank you.
So I am just so pleased to have run across you somehow. And just to be candid, I thought you were a person here in the Portland area who is also a Tara. And it's like, wait a minute, this is a completely different person. Look at this background. So how early did you start singing and dancing?
Well, I didn't really do much dance. I've done performance like theater shows and then singing. And I started when I was about 6 years old on stage. The first time I was ever on stage in front of an audience, I was about 6.
That's amazing. And then you went professional when you were in your late teens.
I did. Yeah.
And then in college, you were training. What was you had 2 college degrees, I think?
Mm-hmm. Two degrees, one in theater and one in music. And I've been performing all my life. I started teaching before I graduated college, as you said, and I performed in a band, in several bands, until I lost my voice. And Yeah, interestingly enough, um, I really struggled because I was singing and performing, and I was also teaching full time, and I had a gig or a job waiting tables, and so I was talking all the time. And as a performer and as a teacher, a voice teacher, I know better, and it was just what I needed to do. And I was also in a marriage that wasn't working for me. It wasn't a healthy situation. And so I think I lost my voice for a lot of reasons. I think,
And that is probably what led you to that personal inner journey.
yeah, absolutely. And I've been on a personal inner journey since I was a little kid. I really have been awake and aware since the day I was born.
Wow.
And I was blessed enough to have parents who got it and
That's
didn't.
good because I didn't.
Yeah, most. Yeah, yeah. I was very, very lucky. I mean, I was born in 1971 in the South in Georgia, and I had probably the coolest parents in Georgia at the time.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So now you're an author. You've just created an Oracle deck. You coach, you do classes, you do workshops. Tell us about the Oracle deck.
Ooh, that's so exciting because it's brand new.
Let's
I
do it. What's it called?
they're
Release.
they're the I Am Oracle deck, and they're all about basically supporting us in claiming and owning our power. And so I created these. Pardon me?
I love it.
I do too. And what's fun is that whenever I decide to go ahead and follow through on something that I feel like maybe spirit is calling me to do, or my inner voice is guiding me to do, when I follow through on it and then I get to the other side of it, it's like I am witnessing myself like on television, like I'm watching a movie of myself. And when I get to the end of it, I'm like, oh my God, that was an exciting show. That's how I feel about these cards, because every time I pick them up or use them or do a reading for someone, I'm like, these are so good, as if I didn't create them.
I know the feeling. Yeah. So would you share one with us?
Sure. So if I were going to do a reading for someone, so you can see like they're all space themed. And the main reason for that is I don't know, I love outer space. My dad has always talked about feeling like he might be from outer space. And so it's one of those things, in a way, I kind of honor my dad through these cards. But I really just felt this is what they wanted to be. They wanted to be very open and larger than life, which is really funny because when I got them for the first time, I didn't realize how huge they were going to be, because normally Oracle cards are not quite this big. These are 5x5. And so when I got them, I was like, oh my gosh, they're so big. And every time I talk to someone about them, they're like, no, they match the energy behind them. And I'm like, okay, I can go with that. So I would just.
Let me ask this. Would you like to do a sample for your audience? You can use guinea pig if you want.
I would love to do that.
I don't want to be a sausage.
No. All right. So just kind of think about something that maybe you're either struggling with or something you want some answers to or some support around.
Okay. I've been working with that for about 6 months.
Excellent. Okay. So as I'm tuning into your energy, because I've been an empath since I was a little kid, I've known about it. So I've been working on that my whole life. As soon as I asked you to do that, I instantly felt your energy like in my guts and in my chest. I felt it kind of like centered. And so I'm just tuning into your energy as I shuffle these cards. And as I'm shuffling them, I don't know your question, so this is going to be spirit guided. Let's see. Okay, found your card. I'm not even going to look at it. I'm going to let you see it first. Ha. So the word respectful. So basically you are claiming I am respectful. And so when I pull the card, I go into my handy booklet that I created, and I find respectful, and I'm looking it up because the funny thing is I created these and I spent a whole year creating this deck and this booklet. But every time I open it and read them, I'm like, it's like I'm reading them for the first time. So I am respectful toward myself and others would be your mantra. And so if you want to say that out loud.
I am respectful toward myself and others.
And so breathe that in as I start reading kind of some of the suggestions that are offered in the booklet. You teach people how to treat you through your actions and attitudes by how you treat yourself and others, and by allowing and accepting certain behaviors. When you are respectful toward yourself and others, you create that vibration in the world. You create that vibration in the world. For the next few days, be mindful how you act toward yourself and others. And then it suggests to journal about the following. And so I'm just going to read these questions out. And if any of them hit you, I'm happy to take a screenshot of this page and send it to you. And maybe you can think about it and journal on it, because this feels like the energy that is being guided to really support you with whatever it is that you are working on right now. Are you generally respectful or disrespectful toward yourself and others? I think I already know the answer to that. I think you are respectful. Do you often say unkind things about yourself and or others? Do you allow others to be disrespectful toward you? What does self-respect look and feel like? Do you feel disrespected by someone? If so, how do you treat them or yourself when you are around them? Do you give your power away by allowing others to treat you poorly? Do you keep friends who are unkind, make fun of you or others, use you or say unkind things to or about you or others? And then the last question, one of my favorites, how do you set boundaries for yourself? If you expect respect, kindness, love, and compassion in your life, you must also be willing to show that toward yourself and everyone else. So this card is basically asking you to tune in at the next level of awareness, because you may have done some work around respect or self-respect in the past, but what it's asking you to do now is really dig deep and see where it is that you might be putting yourself down. Even if you don't say the words out loud, what are you thinking to yourself? And basically whatever you're thinking about yourself is exactly what's going to show up in your life as a reflection. And so, yeah, I feel like there's not much more I can say at this point, that I could send you a screenshot of that page. And if you feel like journaling about it, it could be very helpful to the rest of your journey.
Thank you. And I've been going through for 6 months, just moving up level after level around this whole issue of respectful to self and others. Yeah, going deeper into what are my blockages to really be what I could be if I should be what I might be.
Yeah, I really feel that. So because I'm a vocal empowerment coach, one of the things that I'm tuned into is hearing people's voices and hearing things behind people's voices. And so as I'm hearing you talk about this, I hear a stuckness in your throat and even a little bit of wobble to the voice. And what that tells me is it's obviously something that you're working on. And so it's something that you haven't quite fully embraced, whatever it is that you know you're capable of. And when I hear that, messages come flying in. And so if I was doing a session with you as my client, as a coach, I would basically be supporting you in owning whatever it is that you've been putting off owning. And the way that I would do that is through certain tools that I've created, and also certain messages that come through whenever I'm working with you.
Thank you. This should be something that if anybody is working on their own stuff. Now, how many cards are there in your deck?
There are 40 cards in the deck,
and they probably have the full spectrum of life.
They really do. And I mean, it's funny because the words that chose to come through, some of them got bumped out, some of them were added at the end. And so it's giving my head little tingles kind of thinking about that process. Because it wasn't like I had an agenda when I looked. The only agenda that I had was to support people in claiming their strength and their power. And so the words that came through are sometimes surprising. I mean, some of them are pretty obvious, like authentic, vulnerable, forgiving, loved. But things like intuitive, peaceful, empowered, special, creative. That's my son's favorite. This one right here. He loves this card. Loves it. Every time he sees it, he's like, that's my card.
I love it. How old is your son?
He's 7. He'll be 8 in August. And
that's a great age.
It's such a great age. And when he saw these cards, he was like, I don't think they're too big. I was like, well, I'm going to listen to my 7-year-old because he probably knows more than any of us do.
Exactly. Yeah. Hasn't got the load of the collective consciousness smothering his creativity yet.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you've got the oracle cards, and so I imagine that you as you mentioned, you use those with clients.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, I use them with clients, and I also have a YouTube channel, my Terabundance YouTube channel, and on the YouTube channel every week, just like you on Tuesdays, I don't do a live show, but I do a pre-recorded thing that I call Tuesdays with Tara. And on Tuesdays with Tara, I share a lot of these tools, a lot of the tools that have supported me throughout my life and have supported my clients. And I started the beginning of last year, and just like you with the whole pandemic, it's like things came to light for a lot of people during the pandemic, right? And we were given so much space and time to really dig deep.
A lot of space and time.
Yeah. And for many of us, too much space and time. I'm an extrovert, external processor that just loves to talk to people. So, so what was the best thing I could do? Start a YouTube channel.
Yeah, I was running, I think it was on Wednesday nights, a group out across town. And one night it was like, COVID is starting to be a word I hear. And before the next week, it was like, I sent an email and I said, we are not meeting live anymore. And I learned how to use Zoom in a week. Or I began.
I think we all did.
Yeah, I began learning, and yeah. And now we can go live again. I was up at New Renaissance Bookstore just yesterday doing readings again. Nice. Yeah.
I love New Ren. So you had mentioned that you thought I lived in Portland, and I had moved to Portland in 2007, and it was just because I had felt a calling. So I lived there for 9 years, and it just so happens that the person that I met, that I am in relationship with, the man that I call my beloved, Michael, he was there and had been there for 20-ish years when I met him. And we had a son out of a complete shock. I was 43 when I had him, and he was 51 when our son was born. And so it was a big surprise. And we'd been together for 5 years. And after our son turned 1, we decided to move back to Georgia because, get this, Michael's family is from the town next to mine in the same county in Georgia. Wow. Yeah, he didn't grow up here. He grew up in Florida, but his dad grew up in Canton, Georgia, where we live and have our home now. And so we both had family here, and we decided, my parents are still alive. His parents had just passed a couple years after we met. And so, but but he has cousins and his sister lives close by. And so we decided to come back to Georgia, and I never in a million years would have thought that I'd come back to Georgia from Portland, but I feel like we're all guided to go exactly where we're meant to be. And I feel like I'm making, I don't know, more of a difference here is the best way that I can say it without sounding egotistical. But I feel like this is where I'm meant to be in Georgia.
Can I just share? There's a difference between being egotistical and speaking your truth when you become aware of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Thanks
a
for
part
saying
of my
that.
part of my own growth process.
Mhm.
I've learned to just to share what I am, what I do, and the effect on people. And like, I don't have any ego about it anymore. It's really interesting. I went through a period where it was like, okay, watch your ego. And it's like,
Right.
but there's no ego there.
Yeah. And I think that I know Eckhart Tolle made a big impact on my life when I read A New Earth of his, that book of his that he did. I guess it was around 2009 or 10. And I loved that book so much, and it tuned me into a lot more of that. And then I think, you know, people say that when you turn 30, you start getting closer to understanding who you want to be in the world. And when you turn 40, other things start shifting and you start claiming it a little more. And by the time you're 50, you know, it's like if you're really on your path, and this is the way I feel about my own life. If you're on your path, it seems like it just settles in and you stop worrying about what other people think. And that's kind of where I am right now. I'm in my early 50s, just being like, you know what? And I've got a lot of friends because our son is young, and I'm, you know, we're older than most of the parents around here. I'm surrounded by parents in their 20s and 30s. And I'm kind of like the elder of the group, but they're always like, I forget how old you are. I'm like, phew. That's not a bad thing. I'm young at heart.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whoa, I think my power it started to blink off for a second there.
There was some blinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
So our engineer, our producer, has just put up Tara's contact information on the screen there, and she'll also put it over in the chat room. So if you would like to contact Tara, this is a very good way to do it. And Tara, you're an author, you're a coach, you wrote a book, you do classes, you do workshops, you work with people who are probably, I'm going to guess, in the process of unfolding.
Yes. Yes to all of the above. Yeah, I love transformation. I change is hard for a lot of people. And I don't know if it's because of the family that I was born into or what I came in with or a combination of the two. But change has not been a hard thing for me. And I've had a lot of it. I've had a lot of change. I've moved over 50 times in my 50 years.
Wow.
And yeah. And it's not because my dad was in the military or anything like that. He was in computers in the early years. So we did get moved around quite a bit when I was a kid. And I think maybe I don't know, maybe I just naturally picked up on that bug. And it seemed like I have lived many places more than 2 or 3 years. One or two places I've lived 4 or 5 years. But then there's other places that I've obviously lived a few months. And something about that, I think, really helped to strengthen my ability to shift and change and transform and adapt, which was a superpower, and also kind of I'm starting to realize has given me some fear, because it's almost like, when's the next shoe going to drop? And of course, I've done a lot of therapy around that. And just, you know, working on deciding what I'm willing to claim and what I'm willing to own. And when I changed my name to Tara Abundance, I decided to claim abundance, like earth abundance, and really kind of be proxy for that for everyone, kind of represent, like, this is what abundance feels like and looks like. And you too can
I
have this.
remember, I remember seeing the first time I saw your name is like Terra Abundance. And so I was just processing that because my name Terry, your name Terra, but Terra Abundance, it's like abundance. Like I love the energy of that.
Thank you. Thank you. It took a minute to come up with it. My name was Tara at birth, but it was spelled differently. It was spelled Tara. And so when I decided to claim the last name Abundance, I was changing it from farmer. And so what happened in my thought process, because of all the therapy and work that I'd done up to that point, I decided that instead of planting seeds and working, tending the farm as a farmer, I decided it was time for me to start reaping the benefits and the rewards of all the work that I'd done in my life. And I was in harvesting, exactly. And so when I decided to change my name to Terra Abundance, I also wanted to change the spelling because I'd always kind of wished that it was spelled that way, Terra. And so I do have a co-op that I'm in the process of starting. So eventually I'm going to have a website called Abundant Earth Cooperative. And it's all about claiming abundance in the earth, but it's a cooperative. And that's something that I haven't gotten on its feet yet, but I'm in the very early stages of creating that space. And eventually I want to have a local place, like a store or a shop of some kind, where local people can bring their crafts and wares and kind of homesteading stuff. But online, my goal is to be worldwide. I would love to have many people involved in the cooperative. And so that's something that I haven't been talking about a lot lately, but I'm kind of ready to let the cat out of the bag, so to speak, and just claim it, that this is something that I'm ready to do. I'm looking for someone to create my website, and it's going to have a lot of bells and whistles, and lots of people can be involved in putting their gifts, their abilities, their wares, their art, things that help uplift and create positive energy in the world.
So we have a worldwide audience, and some of the people that will be watching this show, even if they're not on tonight, some of them, all of them in different ways, but some of them will have just perhaps a particular alignment and capabilities that can enable you assist with your cooperative.
Yeah. I know that I've always been very good at something my husband says. This is how my husband puts it. Anytime you set an intention and you dig in, Tara, you make it happen. And he's witnessed me doing that for 13 years now. And he's very supportive in helping me really claim and own that. I've always known it for myself, but I've been a little, like, is it okay to put this out there? And so in the last few years, I've been like claiming it, owning it. Yeah, of course it's okay. But a lot of that has to do with him and a few of my very close friends and family who've supported me in just really being okay with showing up the way that I do. Big energy, full of life, huge Taurus energy, and really just, allow myself to say yes to the things that I know I'm here to build. And I've had a dream in the back of my mind since I was in my early 20s to create some kind of cooperative, or what I used to call it was a networking center.
Right.
And this is what it feels like Abundant Earth Cooperative is trying to become, and is ready to become. And I've waited a long, long time. I've waited over 25 years to get to the place where I'm like, it's now, it's time. I'm just going to do this. And I don't know what that means specifically, but I know that in my heart and my gut, I just keep taking the next step.
That's exciting. I can feel your passion. I can feel your energy. Because I have awareness and sight and stuff.
Sure.
The alignment is coming into alignment. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah,
hard.
thank you for that. Well, thank you for the confirmation, because it's always nice whenever somebody else can be like, "Oh yeah, I see that."
So, two things. Number one, I hope you can stick around just past the end of the show. I want to share something with you.
Yeah,
And not online, but
sure.
what I want to share with you and all of our viewers is Tao Healing Hands. I mentioned that earlier.
Yeah.
Those of us that have that transmission, it's really well, yeah, I just had a new image. I never thought of this before. It's a cornucopia. Um, yeah, anything that's appropriate, we can connect with Tao, Source, Creator, whatever it is, and be the conduit for more alignment, more energy, transformation of some negative information that blocks things. So, and speaking of the Tao hands, I'm going to ask our producer to post the link so that people that aren't aware of it can. It's a long web page. So it gives all the details about the 3 steps and what they mean and all that stuff. But I want to stay focus with you. So I want to jump back onto who is your ideal client?
This is one, Terry. This is one of those questions that I have struggled to answer, and here's why.
Me too.
I'm sure. I feel like we have very similar, things that gifts and abilities. And so one of the things that I've been figuring out over the last probably about 3 years, since I finally settled into the home of my dreams. We built a geodesic dome, and I've been dreaming about this house since I was 13 years old. And so we've been living here for, actually, we moved in here January of 2020, before everything with COVID hit. And so the timing of that was pretty brilliant. Kind of universally, I'm like, wow, universe has kind of a really cool sense of time, doesn't it? If time exists. But
Mr. Fuller was a pretty amazing individual, wasn't he?
I'm just like, it's one of those things where if I could go back in time, that question that people say, who would you talk to if you could go back in time? I'm like, I would totally talk to Bucky. Bucky. I think that he's one of the coolest, like, minds, forward thinking people. It gives me chills to think about. And I knew about him when I was 13. Again, I had some pretty cool parents, who talked about this kind of stuff. They kind of thought about doing a dome themselves one day, and my brother and I got sucked right into it. I was 13, he was 11, and we both were just like, yes. And so,
Dad, go for it, Mom.
and they never did it, but I finally did. And my brother's like, how did you get to go first? I'm like, I went through a lot to get to this place.
Tell him I'm 2 years older than you. Your turn's coming.
Exactly. Yeah, he helped us build this place. We actually got to participate in it. So anyway, I'm not avoiding your question. Since we moved in here, I've really been getting a lot more clear. It's where Tuesdays with Tara started. It's where, owning and claiming the Abundant Earth Cooperative has been kind of like getting in there and becoming more real. And where my Oracle cards came from. During this time of the last 2.5 years, I've just really been checking in, like, what is my ideal client? Something that recently came to me, and I have to kind of tune in because I haven't settled into this yet. But basically, I help people who are ready to change. I help people who are ready to really claim whatever it is that they might not know what it is. But they have a feeling on the inside that says, I'm ready to make a shift. And because of my earth energy, or whatever you want to call it, because of my gifts, my abilities, my ability to speak the truth. I call myself a truth sayer. Because of all of that, I can be very specific and get right into what might be holding people back. Now, the time that it takes to let them, to support them in owning that is up to them. But often I'll see kind of early on a direction that we might want to go in, and I'll give them tools and things to support them in the process. But the people who come to me, and this has been lifetime. This has been since I started working, but especially since I started teaching when I was in my early 20s. I started getting a sense that the people who came to me, the students who came to me, and then eventually the clients who've been coming to me, are the ones who stay, are the ones who are willing to do whatever it takes. The ones who don't stay are the ones who backtrack and make excuses and won't let themselves really claim and own their passion, their truth, their voice, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. So I'm basically the person that people come to. I always say this to people who've been coming to me for a while: you don't come to me unless you're really ready to claim and own your life. Because I can't work with people who kind of like, maybe I might, because basically I'm going to keep going, nope, it's time for you to make a change. You came to me for a reason. I'm going to support you in that. If you're not ready, go see some other things. Go do some other things. Go, do some therapy. Go to 12-step programs, whatever it is that you need to do first, and then come back to me when you're really ready to own it. Yeah, so that's probably the best way to say my ideal client.
That's a wonderful, boy, I can't think of the word, collage. Yeah. Yeah. Great collage. So one of the terms that I've used for quite a while is, what is it that's wanting to birth in you? Mm-hmm. And they don't know. Almost all the time, they don't know, but they know there's something. Mm-hmm. I haven't had anybody say I feel pregnant, but not in those words. but it's, yeah.
Yeah, what's ready to be birthed through you, right?
Yes.
I mean, I've done that numerous times, and I'm sure you have as well. And the things that we're here to do and experience and allow to come through us, that's what makes us special. That's what makes each and every single one of us special and important to the world. And if we try to conform or fit in or, be codependent or whatever it is, or hide from those things, we're not actually helping anyone, especially not ourselves. Right. And so it's really about who am I here to be, and who are you here to be, and how can I support you in fully claiming that? And I mean, I don't know. I mean, we're always changing, right? So it's really necessary to recognize that whoever you are today might change in a couple of years, but that's okay, because as you claim that first thing, then that allows the doors to open to the next thing. And that's what we're always here to evolve, right?
That fits into, it used to be that people had one career or job their whole life, and now 5.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, and I mean, I know we're getting close to the end here, but have you heard anything about human design?
Oh, yes. That's great.
Love human design. And I'm only kind of still new to it, but I pretty much got it pretty quickly, because I understand enough about Chinese medicine and, all the ways that this gift that came through the, I can't think of the person's name who brought it to our world, our reality. But, there's a lot of manifesting generators in the world, and I happen to be one of them. And manifesting generators, right? I mean, once you figure out what one is, it's a person who keeps saying yes to whatever the next thing is, and never really fully completely embracing, staying in something. And then there's people who can stay in a job for their entire lives,
Right.
and be happy and content. I'm not that person. I've changed and changed and changed and changed. And so once I realized my human design, it was like, thank God I don't have to feel like I have to make excuses for it anymore.
Right.
I don't have to try to explain myself to people anymore.
So what I want to do is, all of our listeners, now or in the future, whenever you're listening and watching, if you are ready, I'm going to ask Michelle to put the contact, even though it's over in the chat room. How can they get a hold of Tara? So she'll be putting, there it is already.
There it is.
Go to Linktree, linktr.ee//Tara Abundance. I like it when it's run together because you see the abundance right there.
Yeah, it's pretty. And my business, I call Tara Abundance with the capital A, Tara Abundance.
That's great.
Yeah.
So,
you can find me through all social media under that name. So basically anything that you look up, if it's Facebook, Instagram, whatever it is, Tara Abundance, it's always going to be that same name.
So to our audience, if you're ready, if you want a facilitator that can hold your nose in the direction that you want to go and point out how come your feet are pointing the wrong way, check out Tara Abundance, capital A, Tara Abundance. And Tara, thank you so much for stopping in to chat with me tonight. I really appreciate it. And please stick around.
Yes, it's been an honor. Thank you so much, Terry. It really means a lot to me that you reached out to me and wanted to do this. And so I very much appreciate you and everything you're doing.
Well, and that's why I'm doing it, is because of you and others like you. Those of you who are on the Facebook site, if you're looking there, you'll find this is, I believe, episode 25 of, we had a couple of repeats when we had some technological issues and we couldn't film. We couldn't go Facebook Live. But all the way from the woman who started off with she was in college and she was doing some kind of an art program, and it turns out to be a library on a bicycle.
I love that one. Love that episode.
Right. And then there's James Carter, who an incredible acupuncturist and other kinds of healer too, an herbalist. Well, I'm going to just allow everybody, rather than trying to remember all of 25, check them out. That Facebook page, and the link is right there, Master Sha Tao Healing Center, Portland. And while I think about it, and Michelle will take you into the back room, and then we'll talk in a minute.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tara. So one of the most important things in my life, and it has been for, I think, since 2010, so that's about a dozen years now. When it was originally released, it was called Divine Healing Hands, and then it became Tao Healing Hands, a higher level of power, of abilities, that of connection. Because it's not me, it's not any of there's I forget how many, over 10,000 around the world, but we don't do it. We connect, we're a conduit, and that kind of energy comes through us. I invite you to look at the website. It's 5 levels. Thank you. I can read that one better. 5 levels of creation, Portland.com/Tao Healing Hands. And it says Portland again. So that's a full description of the 3-level program. If you're looking to heal yourself, whatever it is, any aspect of your life, then level 1 may be all you want to do. If you want to heal, like anybody with a family, the creator, the originator, he didn't create it, it came through him. he said he'd like to see every family have a Dow Healing Hands practitioner in it. So if there's somebody that you would like to heal, maybe constantly, or facilitate their growth, you can give a Dow Healing Hands blessing for intelligence, for wisdom, for soul journey. It's stunning. Now, that's not level 2. You can help them heal physical, mental, emotional with level 2. Level 3 is, I call it the full enchilada. It's like a smorgasbord. You think of it, we can offer a blessing for that. And that's what I'm going to offer to Tara here in just about a minute and a half if she's interested. So until next week, I'm Terry McGill, Portland, Oregon. You probably heard that. The program is Who's Your Neighbor? And, we started out just, 25 of my closest friends that I'd known for 25 years or so around Portland. And some, they're going through life changes like Tara was talking about, and they aren't ready yet. It's like, well, can I get a rain check for 6 months from now? Of course, because we transform. And, when they're ready, I'll be here. And I'll be here next Tuesday, and I invite you back. If you can't make it, it's recorded. Dow Center, Portland, Master Sha Dow Healing Center for Portland, Facebook. And you can see episode 25, I think this is now, and some other selections on there too might interest you. So until next week or next time, wherever you are in the world, I'm Terry McGill. I'm one of your neighbors. I'm in Portland, Oregon, wherever you are. And until next week.